Hi everyone, Adrienne here, and today I'm coming to you with the first impression of Huda Beauty's Amethyst Obsessions palette. I picked this palette up from Sephora last month in an order during the 20% off holiday sales, and I think this is one of 5 palettes that came in the Jewel Tone Obsessions collection that Huda released during the fall. This is the Amethyst one. There's a ruby, a sapphire, a topaz, and an emerald, but this is the one that caught my attention a second. At first I thought I wanted the ruby one, but once I went to the Sephora and actually swatched it, I like this one better, so I got this one first. Not to say that I won't go back and pick up more of the palettes, but this is what the inside of the palette looks like. It's got a nice size mirror, and I won't continue to blind you with the mirror, but these are the beautiful shades in this palette. It's a 9-pan palette, and this palette does normally cost $27. I have heard that they're limited edition. I don't know if she's going to end up keeping these in her main Obsession line palette. There's other Obsession palettes that she has that are a permanent part of her line, but I think these are limited edition, all the Jewel Tone ones. But I want to show you guys some swatches of this palette. Now that you've seen the swatches of the palette, I will show you what this palette was like to work with and what colors I used to create the look that I'm wearing today. And then I will come back and give you my final thoughts on my first impression on this palette. To get this look started, I went ahead and double primed my eyes using my MAC extended 24-hour extended eye base and my MAC paint pot in Laying Low. And I also set that with a powder, just the upper part of the lid, so that it's brown again and not stark white. With my Wet n Wild contouring palette, I use the toffee shade over here. So to get started with the look, I think I'm going to start out with the lighter of these kind of mauve-y plum looking shades, and it's this one here that I'm going to put down. And I'm just going to use a Wet n Wild blending brush to kind of lightly sweep it here above the crease, and it's already turning a little deeper pink than what I wanted, closer to the brow bone, but this is good pigmentation. I was a little concerned about that. I am going to put the brush down and see if I can't buff some of this out. I don't want this to be this deep of a shade. I just kind of want everything to be a little diffused. So I'm going to go ahead and use my contouring brush from e.l.f. that I used to put down that toffee contouring shade as a base shade, and it looks like that color is not going to diffuse very much, so I want to make sure I don't add any more that close to the brow bone. And I don't know if you guys can see, I just wanted this to be a light wash of color, and this is highly pigmented, so I'm going to repeat again with this shade. And I have such a small amount on my brush. I don't know if you can see that with it being white. I want it to come into focus because I want you guys to really see how pigmented that is. That's how much I have on the brush, and if you see, the pigmentation is going down so quickly. So a little bit of this shadow goes a long way. Just using light pressure to buff this on and really trying to diffuse it, because like I said, I wanted this to be a soft wash, because I got a feeling the rest of the palette is going to be super intense. Okay, now that I have that shade down, I think I want to go in and for the transition take some of this shade. I'm looking down, making sure I get a brush that's pretty precise to stay in with that, and I'm going to try my e.l.f. blending brush here and try to not turn it lengthways, but just on the most narrow side to get this precisely in the transition area. I don't want all of this to look super dark and the same color if it muddies together a little, which I'm hoping it doesn't do. I'm going to try to pack this and see if it builds up a little more intensely quicker, because this color, I don't want it diffused. I want it to be pretty strong right throughout here, and it looks like it's packing on pretty well. And I'm going to bring it down towards the inner corner of the eye, and this is really pigmented too. I'm going to take a little more and build it up, and I'm trying not to blend, just packing it on. It's getting a little hard to do that in the inner corner, so I think I will blend that in a little bit more. And as you can see right in here where I started to use the swiping motion to blend, it's diffusing quickly, so I don't want to use that technique because I don't want to lose this color. I want it to pop in this area more than that first shade, this lighter color here that I diffused throughout the eyelid. Now I'm going to use that same deep shade over here on this eye and just pat it in. Seems like this one, and it may just be my technique or that I've got lots of product on the brush already. It's going on a lot quicker, so that's nice. And I'm going to come in towards the inner corner and do the best I can to get that without blending and getting the color all muddied together. So far so good. It is grabbing a little bit right in here, but I think that's where my primer is kind of grabbing, and I can also see where I have a little vein that runs through my eyelid that's kind of popping up, so I'm not really sure the shadow is grabbing or if that's just some texture on the eyelid, but so far I think this looks pretty good. I'm going to continue to build the intensity of this. Going a lot faster. I do feel like getting the top coat layer off of the eyeshadow palette after it's been pressed. That's why this side also built up faster than this one, is because it's, when I did this side, it was the first time I'd ever dipped into that shade. So I think that's making some difference, and I'm going to go back and deepen this now that that shade is picking up on the brush a lot better. And I think I've got them about even, and what I'm going to do is go back in with this first brush that I used this shade to diffuse and take some light sweeps with no extra product just to blend close to the edges, but I don't want to run it up too close to the brow bone because, like I said, I want to keep this color defined. And I'm going to stop there and go back in with that first e.l.f. contouring brush that I used, that toffee shade, to set my primer. Okay, and moving on, I haven't quite decided. I'd kind of like to do all three of these as a lid shade, but I think I'm going to stick with this one and use this one for a little pop of color. I may do all three and just use this one in the inner corner and this one in the center and try to do more of a halo. So first I'm going to go in with the Mary Kay eye color brush and just see how this works, patting this shade here on the lids, how much it picks up, and it doesn't really look like it's picking up much product. I don't know if you guys can see that on the brush. I don't think it's going to come into focus. So I'm going to go ahead and use some downward motions to swipe this on. And the pigment picked up okay. Take a little bit more of that color. And it's picking up and packing on pretty well, I would say. Not bad at all. So I'm going to continue to build that up, and now I'm going to go towards the inner corner with that same shade. It's a really pretty color, and I do like the intensity of it. It, like the other shades, is picking up better now that I've done that initial dip into the palette, and I'm going to take some more of it and go in and do this eye here. Boy, this is blending pretty well with the brush, I imagine. I guess I could put the brush down, and just for curiosity's sake, I want to go in with my finger and see how this applies. And I don't think I'm going to be able to get my camera to come into focus so that you can see how much product I have on my finger either. So patting this in, it's going rather quickly. I'm not going to keep doing this though because I don't want to get it down here in the corner of my eye. I want to keep it clean because it's pretty sparkly with the glitters, and once I get that glitter all over my face, since I just put moisturizer on, I won't be able to get it off. And I'm about done with all I want to start off with packing on this eye. Now I'm going to flip this brush on the other side, and I'm going to go in with this middle shade here and put it in the center of the halo, just so we're getting the whole palette used. And this is more of an ultraviolet purple shade. I don't know that this is really what I wanted. I wanted to go for more of the burgundy look, but with this being the first time using the palette, I wanted to get into as many of the shades as I could. So maybe just really keep that a narrow little strip because it's like almost that periwinkle purple color. Kind of looking a little blue violet, which would be really pretty paired with this color here if I was using it, which I'm sure that's why they're side by side. And I think I just used the wrong side of the brush. That's okay. Get it flipped back over. And I'm going to set this down and go into this color with my finger also. I picked it up and I'm liking the way it's pressing onto the center of the lid, a lot more vibrant than using the brush. So I will go back to the other side. It's almost got that liquid metallic look. It's really pretty. And deepen this side of it up. I'm liking that for some dimension. I can't imagine how vibrant this would be if I actually cut my crease using a primer, but I really wanted to see how well this could perform without cutting the crease with just using a basic primer. So I'm going to sit the palette down now and grab a brush and pop some on the inner corner. I probably will end up having to deepen this shade off camera when I get the rest of my makeup done, but I want you guys to see how this performs with the brush. Oh wow, that's really pigmented, and this color is like a duochrome color. I was not expecting it to look like this. It almost looks like a golden pink, but it is more of an iridescent type shade. And this is the first time I've used any other colors in this palette. I hadn't swatched it. I know that once you guys see this video, it'll be out of order and you will have seen the swatches already, but this is all truly my first impression. So that is really pretty. I'm going to stop here because when I'm off camera doing my liner and lashes, I probably will end up deepening it. I don't want to make a mess out of it, but this is the shade that I'm going to use to contour with. So I'm going to grab a brush to do that. And I think I want to use a blending brush that's really small and not as wide because I don't want this color getting out of control. I want it really defined right in here. So I think I'm going to pack it first and not even try to blend. So this is packing on pretty deep. I love the color scheme of this palette because even as the colors mix, they're so pretty and complementary with this palette that you're going to get a really good look anyway. So just staying right under that transition shade that I put down and really just focusing on the outer crease. I think this is so pretty. I'm going to go and do the other eye now. And just getting in my actual true crease. My eyes are so hooded that I really have to focus on where I'm putting everything to get it to show up the way I want it to. And I think I about got that. This side's built up the way I want it. Once again, same thing with this color. The first few times I dipped in it doing the first dye, it didn't pick up as much pigmentation, so now I will go back and deepen it. Might be better to start swatching these palettes first just to get them going so the pigmentation's easier to pick up with the brush. And I'm going to stop there and go back in with this e.l.f. blending brush here. And this shade here that I put for the transition, I'm going to make sure I don't lose it and just go right above this deeper shade that I applied. Kind of soften the edges of that and go in towards the inner corner with that color. Okay. This is turning out really pretty. I think I'm going to stop here and I'm going to go off camera and just finish my entire face, lashes, liner, and I probably will. I'll tell you now, I'm sorry I'm not able to do all that on camera for you, but I'm probably going to go in with these two shades here and smudge out the lower lash line. That's if I feel that I want a smokier eye. A lot of times I don't like that, so I may not put any color on the bottom, but if I do, it'll be this probably all the way in towards the inner corner, and then this one right underneath the lash line, keeping it tight in the lash line. So I will be back with a completed look. So for my first impressions on this palette, I have to say, as you saw me working with it, and I'm going to go ahead and open it up so you can see the colors as I'm talking about them. I really enjoyed working with this palette. There was not a shade in this palette that I used today that didn't perform well and as expected. Like I said throughout the application of the shadows, you need to use them a couple times with your brush, just get them in there and kind of get the top layer where they're pressed down, get that working well before the pigmentation picks up really heavy and intense. But this is a palette that will pack the pigmentation and the color right away, so you don't need a lot of product on your brush, and it didn't take an excessive amount of blending. I did decide not to smudge out my bottom lash line once I started applying the rest of my look and finishing up my face. I like the way I looked the way it was, so I have nothing negative to say about this, and this color really surprised me here. There's no names of the colors on the back of the palette. I didn't mention that, and they're not labeled. This color in the inner corner is such a pretty iridescent shade. I'm very pleased with the look that I got today. These are the only two colors on the side here that I didn't use, and I am not as big of a fan of the electric violet, the really ultraviolet, I guess not electric, that'd be electric blue, but this is the ultraviolet shades. I will in the future probably use these two colors just so I know what the entire palette performs like, but overall I got all these shades over here and this one in the first look, so I really do like this palette, and if I had it to do all over again, I would buy it, and yes, I would spend the full $27 on it, even if it wasn't on sale. And after seeing the quality and the performance of this palette, I may go back and pick up some of the rest of that Jewel Tone collection. I wanted to get into one of them first before I bought everything and see how they performed. I know just because this one performed well doesn't necessarily mean that the rest of them will, but I am very pleased with this purple look that I got, and I normally stay away from purple eyeshadows. Purple eyeshadows are just something that I've recently started venturing out to, and I feel like this is a great addition to my eyeshadow collection, and it just happens to be the right undertones, and I'm going to open it up again. I love the plum type shades that are in there. I really, if I'm going to wear purple, I can even do some of the ultraviolet shades as long as I have some plum to balance it out. And I think for the contouring color, what is it, the deepest color, this one here, she did a wise choice by making that more of a plum type purple, so it could go with all the different tones of purple in this palette. I think it's well thought out. I like the compact. The size of these compacts are my favorite to have anytime something's in a mini form like this. I like it better for travel. It fits in the palm of my hands. It's easy to hold. 9-pan compacts, the smaller a compact, actually, the more I like it. I feel less confused and it's easier to work with. And being color themed, I mean, it spells it right out. You know what you're getting when you pick up this palette. and you will, in my opinion, get an awesome purple look. I am going to close my eyes so that you guys can see how well those colors blended out, and I really did like the color that I put in the center of the halo eye, and I'm going to go ahead and point it out again. It is this color here, and when I first started applying it, I thought it was going to be kind of ultraviolet to the point where it looked a little periwinkle and blue, but it did adjust and it turned to the perfect purple. I don't have anything negative to say about this palette. Everything in this palette I really enjoyed, and I would recommend it to you, and I hope that you did enjoy this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe. You'll also want to hit the notification bell next to the subscribe button so YouTube notifies you every time I upload a new video. See you guys soon.